Well, going back to say what was missing, it would be actually throwing a stone at his old team, and I don't. That's not something I do. But what I will say is what most of everyone noticed. There was a lot of sort of inactivity from Triple G. It's not that he was just battered and beaten, but it was his inactivity.
In the ring or
in the ring? No. In the ring, he wasn't as active as most people would normally see him, and that was the difference with. I'm speaking on the fans, so to speak. We all, as we watching the fight, we as fans watching it, and as we seen him fight, we noticed one thing, that he's not as active and throwing punches as he usually throws.
The surprise that we had was the lack of body punches.
Well, it was just lack of punches, period. That was one as well, but it was lack of punches, period. Because as we seen him previously fight, he would throw different arsenal of punches, and it would be more consistent.
How well did you know him? I know you guys were acquainted for the last number of years, but how well have you actually known him since you never worked with him as a trainer before?
When you run in the same circles, you see each other here and there.
So was it just sort of like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yeah, we always had mutual respect for each other. Because, like I say, I remember watching him in the 2004 Olympics. So I knew of him, but I didn't know him, and I haven't met him up until that point. But once we met, we always had a mutual respect for each other. We seen each other from whether it's in California, New York, or up in Big Bear, whatever it was. And it was just a mutual respect thing. That's all it was.
So there was a surprise when somebody from his team called you and said, "Hey, Mr. Banks, Gennady Golovkin wants you to be his trainer."
Sort of, yeah.
Who made the call?
But I don't know if I could reveal that or not. Okay. But it was the same thing, same surprise call I got when Vladimir Klitschko called me.
Okay. But you were in Vladimir's camp though.
It still was a surprise. I wasn't a coach though. I worked with him as a sparring partner. And at that point, I've never took a fighter to a camp and trained them, ever. So when I got the call for that threw me for a loop. It did. It threw me for a loop. And I said, okay.
So when you got to the gym for the first day 2 weeks ago, and you had a more formal introduction beyond just, hey, how you doing? What was it like the first time you stepped in the ring with him and held the mitts or held the bag or watched him do it? What was that like, that first break the ice, hey, we're a team now?
It was, I can't say it was different because I'm in the gym every day.
But not with him.
Right, not with him. I'm in the gym every day, but at the same time, when you're in the gym every day, and it's like you do your craft it's not a day go by you're not either reading or writing or something. So when you come to a big story, the approach is pretty much the same. The formula is the same. You might have to do a different strategy to pull out the story, the main thing you want, but the approach is always the same. So my willingness and ability to be able to adapt and to adjust with the fighter is comes from years of being in the gym.
Did you wrap his hands? Somebody else wrap his hands?
Well, he didn't want to wrap at the time.
Have you been wrapping his hands?
He didn't, not yet.
Okay.
Once everything, the sparring stuff started, then I will.
And when you made the agreement to go with to the camp and train him, is it we're going to do this fight with Steve Rolls, or are you on board beyond that?
Well, right. That question was asked. Could I say yeah? It wasn't one fight. Let's see for this fight. It wasn't like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't like that.
Johnathon, you talk about his lack of activity. How much is that a function of an older fighter? He is 37 now.
Well, it's like tomato. You can say it's because of age. You could say that, or it's because of lack of something else. But I can't determine that until we get further into the mix and see exactly what it is. It's like, you see somebody limping as they walk. You could say they hurt their foot, but until you get further diagnosis, you find out their hip hurt. That's why they limping. So it's all about assessing the situation, giving the proper diagnosis so you can fix the situation.
Johnathon, if you can get into specifics, when you watched the fight in September with Gennady and Canelo, Is there one thing that stood out to you about Gennady? You said, that was something that I feel is deficient. Was it just the activity, the punch output? Was that just the main thing?
That was the main thing, because obviously, as you know, given the sport that we're in, with minimum activity, it's hard to get. It's hard. That's when you look up to someone to learn from. That's my Mount Rushmore. That's who I always look at. That's who I recall everything from, because that's what I was taught. It was never a point in time that he didn't feel, okay, we training, okay, boom, he in the ring moving around and doing pad work. So that's where I got it from, and of course that's what I do, and that's what we've been doing a lot of. That's why he's excited about it right now. He feel like he's like getting. He said, "This, you know what? This is exactly what I need."
Yeah, because it's different, right?
Right, it's completely different.
Jonathan, if you're working that circular pad and you're taught to throw one punch over and over again, you kind of fight. You start to become that rhythm, right?
Exactly.
Like you become acclimated to that.
Exactly, and I always said that when it comes to these big punches, I'd rather work with a guy who can't punch because he's throwing multiple punches,
right,
than a guy who feel he can't punch because you're always going to throw that one punch at a time. Now, given a fight, we all seen the Fury and Wilder fight. Fury's not a puncher. He realizes, he knows it. He was the more active fighter. Every single round, he was active. But Deontay was at a point where he said, "You know what? I may not be as active, but I got something I can land." And the luck of the draw for him, Fury got somehow he rose back to his feet in that last round. But most big punches are not active punches.
They're over reliant
on
one weapon.
On one weapon. And one thing I can't stand is walking to the ring with one way to win. I don't like it.
Jonathan, when you got the call to train Klitschko, how do you compare that to this?
Well, it was given the fact that I didn't have the communication with Triple G that I have with Klitschko. I met Klitschko in 2004, and me and Emmanuel introduced me to him. We started sparring and stuff like that. So we had a huge chemistry of doing strength and conditioning, everything over like years and years and years. You know, so that was a little bit different. That was more of a personal, like it hit me on a personal level than just like, you know, a business level because of the relationship I had with him. But still was surprised. You know, I still was completely shocked that, you know, that he called. I was surprised. But, you know, once again, it was different with Vladimir because Vladimir, he was like a big brother to me.
Is there more pressure in this job than the other previous high-profile gigs that you've gotten, Jonathan?
For me, no. I mean, this is boxing. This is my life. This is what I do. So now, if Ellie Setback called and told me he wanted me to fix his tooth, then yeah, that's a lot of pressure because I've never done dentistry work. I pulled the tooth out before, but I don't know if it was the right way, the wrong way. But I look at it, as long as it's under the umbrella of boxing, I'm full steam ahead.
Jonathan, how was this kept a secret for 2 weeks? Everyone was talking, everyone was speculating. Like, did you guys go through back doors? Did you have underground tunnels to the gym? Did you have to put like a mask on as you walked into the gym?
You know what? I think I was one of the last persons on people's mind that it didn't matter what I did, because no one in 150-mile radius would have thought about Jonathan Banks. So it was actually easy. I didn't, you know, it was easy for me not to say nothing or to say something because it wasn't thought of anyway.
Plus, you guys were up in Big Bear as opposed to like more open public places in LA.
Correct.
You talked about Emmanuel's great influence on you. There are 2 or 3 catchphrases or things that kind of bounce around in your head when you think about him that you use to train your guys. What would they be?
Let that shit go.
It's not so much catchphrases. It's almost envisioning him about the things that he's done in the ring that I've seen him done, as far as him giving instructions, to him giving pad work, to him always telling me that no matter what, you gotta fight it no matter. Put it like this: when him and Lennox had a conversation, and he got the call to train Lennox. The conversation between him and Lennox and him and Vladimir was similar, and he was telling them that we gotta get back to boxing. He said you gotta get back to basic boxing. He said basic boxing win championships. He's all this fancy stuff. He said you see people do it, but that's not what win championships. He said basic boxing win championships. And not only do they win it, he said you're allowed to keep your championship once you get back to that. So all in my head is stick to the basics, stick to the basics, stick to the basics. Because that's what he did. He said it's so simple that nobody really want to do it. But it's so simple that it works.
I know he said, I remember one time he talked about when he first worked with Lennox, he just wanted to see him move around in the ring, to see his body movements, his footwork and all that, just by himself. Then he built from there. I mean, is that something that
what he did was he wanted to give him a rhythm. And no one thought Lennox would have outboxed Holyfield. In a million years, no one looking at the two and looking at what they normally do, no one would have thought that. But Lennox kept his rhythm. The first fight was a draw, but he outboxed Holyfield using his jab alone because of his rhythm and using the jab. And that's almost like everybody got a foundation, and you could build on anything else off the foundation. And that was the premises of Emanuel Stewart's foundation, was the timing, rhythm, and using your jab, which is something that's super basic.
is that translatable to Triple G?
Of course it is.
So what is the building of that process when you have a fighter who has specialized in doing one type of thing? How do you start to rebuild from that foundation at this point in the fighter's career? What approach will you take?
Well, the hardest part has already been done. He believes in something that I can do. He believes that I can do something. That's the hardest part. Now, my job is to be consistent. Consistency is one of the hardest things in sports and in life, period. And it's my job to be consistent. As long as I'm consistent, like I believe in, then eventually he will adapt to that and start being consistent with it as well.
If Abel was Mexican style, what's Johnathon Maine style?
That's I don't know. Like you said, it's the winning style.
Kazakhstan, Kronk.
It's the winning style. It's
Kronk,
more so.
Kazakhstan,
It's more so of
Pakistan,
Emanuel Stewart style. That's what I would say, because that's who I learned from. Don't get me wrong. I picked up things from a lot of the great trainers in our sport, but who introduced me to the sport was the late great Emanuel Stewart.